When do you need a website? We're going to talk about it. Hello and welcome to a VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony, and this show is about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that Lord knows I keep stepping in. I'm super excited to be coming back for another episode. If you guys can believe it, we are at episode 299. This is episode 299, and I'm really looking forward to talking about websites today. And as a voice actor, when do you need to think about your website? All right, well, let's do it. This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica. So, it's good to be back, and, I'm thinking about websites and why do I want to talk about them today? Well, I had gotten a question earlier from one of our members at VO Journey Academy about when they thought the appropriate time was to start a website as a voice actor. And, there's a lot of competing information out there. You have a lot of people that say, when you start, you should have a website right away. No matter what, you need a website before you start doing anything. And then there's people that say, you need to wait to have a website. You don't need one right away. There's someone, there's people who are in the middle. So it can be very challenging. And then you have to think too, it's not just that, it's about the money, right? How much money it takes to build a website. Where do you build a website? What do you get? What do you need? Et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into that decision. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first and foremost, do you need a website to be a voice actor? And the answer is yes. I personally believe you need a website. It's like your online store. Not only does it offer a place for people to come and look at what you do, listen to your work, learn more about you, but also, it validates your business. Okay. I do often think that many voice actors, we don't view our businesses as fully legitimate businesses, because it's just us and our house. But the reality is we are fully legitimate businesses and, we need a website. Think about it. Would you be interested in working with a business that doesn't have a website? Now, I will say this, okay, and this is the next part of this, which is when do you need a website? So a lot of us start on websites, other people's websites, right? We start on places like ACX, Academy Voices, Fiverr, Upwork, Voices.com, The Voice Realm, Voice123, Bodogo, all these different places. We start on other people's websites. And a lot of the people who go to those websites, they aren't actively searching for you, on your, they're not actively searching to see if you have your own website because they're working with you through someone else's website. Okay. So because of that, a lot of people don't need a website just to start off. And the reason I say that too is because, when you're just starting, you don't have anything, meaning you typically don't have demos, you don't have headshots, you don't have content, you haven't flushed out your brand yet, you haven't flushed out what your niche is, you haven't put together all that content, you don't have any, you don't have any articles, you don't have just a variety of things. You might be having starter equipment, right? And you don't want to put down what starter equipment you have because perception is real. So I guess what I'm getting at is that when you first start off, it is not necessary, in my humble opinion, to have a website in order to start trying to get work. So this is an important part. It's not because other people will say you have to have a website when you start out. Well, do they mean when you start out like within the first year or two? Do they mean when you start out like you can't do a thing until you have a website? You know what I mean? And I'm just a firm believer of, you can get started. Like, for example, you could join Academy Voices and start auditioning. You don't need a headshot. You don't need a demo. Same thing with like ACX. You can get on there and you could start auditioning, and you don't need a headshot. You don't need a demo in order to audition. And the thing is those auditions can down the road become part of a demo or part of a sample. And also these days, I think it's important to note too that we are in a time where it is very easy to find anything that you possibly want, right? I mean, it's easy to search for it. It's easy to find it. It's easy to find someone who will sell it to you. It is super easy. Okay. So this means a couple things for us, right? It means that, we have to, be a lot of places, right? But it means that we don't have to make it very difficult on ourselves trying to build an entire website to start when, it's going to be hard to find a single website when people can find you all these bigger websites very easy. Okay, very simple. So I think it's just something to note about that. Okay. And I do think the next part of this is when is that first and second year? When is it time for you to get a website? So to me, getting a website is, it's time to get a website when you have started booking work. Okay. When you've started booking work through websites, through, maybe even socials, but you started booking work. And the reason why is because most voice actors that I talk to, most voice actors that I coach, most of the voice actors in VO Journey Academy, right, who have websites, I love all of them, but guys, honest truth, I'd say probably 90-95% do not put enough work into their websites. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they make a nice website, but then after they make the website, they're done. They don't continue to add to it. So remember, when you think about it, if a website is a store, okay, and the store only works if there's traffic, right? If there's traffic driving by the store, that's why you don't see stores out in the middle of nowhere, because there's no traffic there, right? The best locations are where there's a lot of traffic. Now, for online purposes, in order to get a lot of traffic, you've got to position yourself with the right keywords, with the right amount of authority, with time. You've got to build a website that people are going to be able to search keywords, things they're looking for, and that you are going to be recommended by Google. And now with AI, right, most of it is going to be taken from their websites, right, and given to the people without even going to the website links, and then those people find whatever that information is and then go to your website. You see what I mean? Now, if it's more commercial, it doesn't necessarily do that, but informational-wise, it pulls it and allows them to see what website it pulls that information from. So you have to think that if you are creating a one-page website, the only way anyone is ever going to find that website is going to be if you send them a link. Think about it. No one will ever be able to find your website unless you send them a link, because if someone's searching online, your one-page website's not going to come up. Now, if they search your name, okay, and you've had a website up for a while, and this was the crazy thing. I've seen many websites of people with their names on it who still aren't found when their names are typed in. Okay, because their websites are not looked as a credible source, and Google does not post them. And sometimes Google won't even, have them on the Google, right? So, that is one thing that I will say is an important part of this, is that building a website without continuously adding to it, adding blog articles, adding pages, adding tools, adding things that people are going to be looking and searching for, you're not going to, there's no point to it unless you are actively emailing people your website address and you want people to go there. And here's another thing. If someone goes to your website, have you set it up to the point where it's easy for them to understand how it works? like how working with you works. So let's talk about that. So let's say you've been doing this for a couple years, all right? And you're ready, or maybe you've been doing it for a year and you've already started booking work through websites. You say, I'm ready for a website. I need to expand my business and grow. And I'd like to have a website because I would like to reach more people through Google search, through traffic coming to my website. Okay? Because again, the purpose of having a website is either A, you're going to send people the link to your website, all right, or B, you are going to, and again, part of that is, and I will admit, part of that is driving traffic to your website through socials. So, that is a very important point too. All right. But again, if you are at that place, we need to think about, okay, what is my website going to do? Well, I need my website to be able to accept traffic and turn that traffic into some sort of lead. And how I turn that into a lead is I got to have some sort of contact form on there. I got to have some sort of way for them to get a hold of me so they can tell me what they're looking for. And I can give them some sort of quote, some sort of idea about what that cost will be to work with me. Also, how do they know how I work? Do you have on your website the process that you use? Think about it. Most people online, if you don't tell someone clearly and concisely what your process is, meaning like, you send me the script, I review it, send you a quote, you accept the quote, you pay 50% up front, I, record the work, send it to you for approval, you send it back for revision, I send it to you for final approval, you pay the remainder of the 50%, and we have a great day. Right? Like, do you like that? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you have a 3-step, 4-step, 5-step process? People don't know. They have no idea what to expect. I see so many voice actor websites where it looks great. It's a great picture of the voice actor, some demos on there and a contact form, maybe some information about their studio, and that's it. There's no how to work with me or, how's my process? What am I looking for? Here's things you need to know. What payment types do I take? I mean, think about that. I mean, if you're going through that, when you go to one of these bigger websites, that's all laid out for them. It's very easy for them to purchase, and that's done on purpose, you guys. Now, I'm not saying that you have to offer purchasing through your website, meaning like, they click on a button and they can do it without you, like a Voices or a Fiverr or an Upwork, you know what I mean? Where it like the website handles it all. Although that would be fantastic, and I recommend everybody try to do that if you can. But most people, will send like an invoice, you know what I mean? Like like an invoice and they have to pay the invoice, which is fine as well. People have no problem with that because invoice software these days is so simple. People can pay with anything. You can even set things up with Stripe and PayPal or even, QuickBooks and all this other stuff that there's so many things out there that does. So that's not an issue. But I'm just saying, do you have that planned out? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you have, and does the people going understand it? That's what I'm saying. I try to do this and be better at it across all the businesses I run, and it's challenging because sometimes I feel like I'm doing good at it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes people, it's interesting. I have found that the better I do this, I know this sounds silly, but the better I do this, the more business I get, and the worse I am at this, the more I'm standing around scratching my head what the problem is. You know what I mean? And why are people signing up? Like, is somebody signing up for the wrong thing? Is someone signing up? Like, you could start to see patterns. Or in this case, no one's signing up. No one's contacting me. No one's doing, everything that you do, right, has some sort of piece of data attached to it. Like, if no one's contacting you, then clearly what? That means there's a variety of things that are not working. People, like, for example, is your website getting any traffic? Right? So if there's no traffic coming to the website, then why, you know what I mean? That's an issue. We've got to work on the website. But if there's traffic coming to your website and no one's contacting you, well, there's an issue then when they come to your website. It's not clear what they're either getting when they come to your website, what they need to do when they come to your website, or, you're not hooking them when they come to your website. Something in the website's turning them off to not contact you. Right? Then when they contact you, what are their questions? Are the questions what you are looking for them to ask? Are they the right type of clients you're trying to reach? There's all of this data that you can gather from, information stats and statistics, and analytics, excuse me, from your website. And there's a lot of tools out there, free tools even. You know what I mean? Search Console, Google Search Console. That's all free, and that gives you great information about the traffic and analytics of your website. It used to be like Google AdWords and stuff like that, and Google Analytics, but now it's Google Search Console and things like that. So the point I'm trying to make to you is that a lot of people start a website because someone told them to start a website. And, they know they got to get their face on there probably, although a lot of people don't put their face on there because they don't want to take a picture. But don't forget, people who are working with you, no matter where you are, whether it's your own website or other websites, they want to see your face. Even though the person listening will never know your name or never see your face, the people hiring you do, because in their mind, they want to imagine who they're working with. So it's important for them to see your face. It's important for them to listen to your voice. It's important for them to know all these things. But most people just think getting up a website, it's like checking off a list. I got to check off this list. I got to check off that list. And 90% of voice actors tend to get absolutely nothing. Zero. I think it's more. I think it's like 95 or above who get absolutely zero from their websites. Okay. And, and so the point I'm trying to make to you is early on, I said, why do you need a website up front? Well, that's the point. That's the reason why I say it. Because the majority, like I said, 95 plus, and I would be, and again, when you talk, when you see a couple people, think about this, you never see anyone saying, oh, I got a job through my website today. It very rarely happens. I'll never forget early on when I was starting out, I was in a Facebook group, and I remember a prominent voice actor at the time was pushing a website, a website thing that he was pushing. I mean, I'm sure you all know who it is. He pushes a lot of different products. And, at the time, I had great respect for him. So I got this website, and it was like $30 a month or something, and they hosted it, and it was like one page, right? And there's a bunch of people in a Facebook group, thousands of people, and, you'd go for a while. And I remember asking I did this poll, I think, or I was just interested. I was like, is anyone getting any work through their website? And everyone said no one's getting any work through their website. And it didn't dawn on, it dawned on me. I don't think it dawned on other people, but it dawned on me that, is it us? Is it the format? Is a one-page website even worth it? Because again, if you're going to be if you were to come to me and said, Anthony, I am going to post 3 to 5 times a day, which again, me, I highly recommend you start posting to social media a lot. But if you're going to be like, but most people don't, I'm going to post 3 to 5 times a day. I'm going to be sending out, 25 to 35 emails a day. I'm going to be contacting people. I'm going to be going all these places. I'm going to be pushing my name everywhere. Then, I need a website. And I'm like, well, if you're going to be doing all of that, then yes, you should get a website. Will one page work in that scenario? It's better than not having a page. That's true. But most people, high 90s, are not going to do that. So people were not pushing out their name themselves enough, because remember, if you're on other websites to grow your business, which again, I highly recommend when you're starting out, you're not going to be, they don't even allow you to put your website on there. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not trying to send them away. They're sending them to their website. They're keeping them, right? Because they're not your clients, they're their clients, and they're just hiring you as a contractor. So again, I asked all these people, and they're like, no, no one's getting any work. And I realized, what are we doing? This website, or the current form of how we were being told we should do it by some of these, veteran voice actors or whatever, or coaches, was wrong. It was not working, but they were making affiliate money off of it. And I don't have any problem with affiliate money at all. In fact, I think it's a great way to earn, but it was not working, is what I'm trying to say, right? Like, it was I felt like we were being sold, something that wasn't true. So I went on this journey to understand way more about how, or what could I possibly do to the website? And I kept coming back to the realization, or the reality of, unless you are getting traffic, or you're running ads, or you're doing something that is sending mounds of people to your website, all right, that are actually even looking to buy voiceovers, what is the reason of having a website other than to tell other voice actors that you have a website? Now, again, you could say, well, casting directors want to see that you have a website. Okay. Yes, I could see that. That's true. But casting directors aren't going to work with you if you're not getting work anyways. So, okay, like, tomato. What? And again, casting directors are not going to work with you if you're brand new, no matter how good your website is. Okay, I push back on a lot of that because, it's just not true. There's a reality, and then there's the pie in the sky, right? Like I was talking about this earlier with a student of mine today about the pie. Like, there's a reality of what is, there's what is actually real, and then what is I wish it could be real. And there's nothing wrong with dreaming, right? That's why we're all here, is we had a dream to do this. But there's a reality of what actually is happening or is going to happen. And then there's the I wish it would happen that never happens. And everybody here knows what I'm talking about. Deep down, you understand, right? It's like, I know it would happen if I just change everything about myself. Like, I know I could do it if I get up earlier, if I go to bed later, if I, eat the right way, if I change my entire life, if I change my schedule, if I fix this and I change that and I build some massive outhouse in the back that's going to house my studio. Okay, yeah, it would change if you did that, but most of us aren't going to change our entire lives. I'm not saying we can't or that we shouldn't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a reality, but most of us can at least understand that and then take small steps to move forward, which, one small step after another small step can make giant leaps. But making one giant leap at one time is very near impossible. Okay. And it's actually not that smart. Okay. So I think that where I'm getting with all of this again is the idea of having a website early on is unnecessary. Unless you are a person who is like literally going to build that website and your goal is to really build your business through your website, right? Like if your goal is to build your business through your website, then you absolutely need a website, of course. But most voice actors are not building their business through their website. And, that's a really good realization, right? I think that's a really good way to phrase it. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that in some other stuff and some shorter posts because I think that's the reality, right? Are you trying to build your business through your website or are you trying to build your business through other people's websites? I have often recommended voice actors start by building their business through other people's websites because those websites have reach. They're spending hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a month on ads, right? Like there's traffic coming to them. They've got credibility and no one knows you or I exist. But on those websites, we're able to be pushed to all kinds of people because of the website's credibility. That's very difficult when you start your own website and your own brand from nothing, right? It takes time and a heck of a lot of effort. Well, it does anyways, whether you do it through other websites or your own. But I love that idea. Are you trying to build your business through your website or are you trying to build your business through other means? Whether that's other websites, whether that's social media, whether that's other things. Now, can you have competing or can they go together? Sure. But I hope that makes sense. I think I'm going to shut up now because it's been a while and I think you guys get it. But I think that's the crux of the whole thing. And if your answer is, I just want to get work through my website, well, then clearly you need a website. But do I see that happening with the majority or any voice actors? No. In fact, I don't think I've ever met a voice actor who started their website and said, I'm just going to get work through my website and just focus on my website and they get work. I've never seen one. That doesn't mean they don't exist, but it is very challenging to do that because you have to think about it. You've got to build something that no one even knows exists unless now, if you're posting on socials and you start doing that, then that's very helpful. And we'll talk about that maybe next time. all right, is, using social to drive traffic to your website? Or should you drive traffic to other people's websites? Because I've done both, and I've got some crazy stories about that. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening today. I would give you some food for thought, but the reality is that you don't need a website to start off. However, if you have been doing this for a year or two, it is and you do not have a website, it is probably time to start thinking about that, as you do need always to expand your business. All right. So thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, share this with another voice actor, and I will talk to you all later. All right, everybody. Peace.